June 4th, 1942, 10:20 a.m., Central Pacific Ocean. 4 Japanese aircraft carriers, the pride of the Imperial Navy. Akagi, Kaga, Hiryū, Sōryū. Combined, 248 aircraft, the most powerful naval strike force ever assembled. 6 months ago, these carriers destroyed Pearl Harbor. They conquered the Philippines, Wake Island, Singapore, the Dutch East Indies. They believe they are invincible. In 20 minutes, all 4 carriers will be on the bottom of the ocean, because 30,000 feet above them is something they never imagined. 1 F-22 Raptor, 1 pilot, 8 anti-ship missiles, and 40 minutes to change the course of World War II. Midway was the most important naval battle in history. If Japan won, they would control the entire Pacific. Hawaii would be next. Then, the west coast of America. If America won, the tide of war would turn. In real history, American dive bombers sank those 4 carriers. It took 3 hours, cost 307 American lives, required perfect timing and incredible luck. But today, we're asking a different question. What if the US Navy had one weapon that could do it in 40 minutes? What if Admiral Nimitz's secret advantage was 60 years ahead of its time? This is the story of how one jet could have ended the Pacific War in a single morning. By June 1942, Japan had conquered an empire, from Burma to the Gilbert Islands, from the Aleutians to Java. 6 months of unbroken victories. But Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto knew Japan couldn't win a long war. America's industrial power was too great. Time was Japan's enemy. Yamamoto's plan: destroy what remained of the US Pacific Fleet, force America to negotiate peace. Target: Midway Atoll, a tiny island, 300 miles northwest of Hawaii. Why Midway mattered. Midway was America's early warning outpost. If Japan captured Midway, they could attack Hawaii, threaten California. Yamamoto knew the US Navy would defend Midway with everything they had. And that's exactly what he wanted. A decisive battle. Winner takes the Pacific. The Japanese plan. Yamamoto assembled the largest naval force in history. 4 fleet carriers: Akagi, Kaga, Hiryū, Sōryū, 2 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, 248 carrier aircraft, plus a separate invasion force, 2 light carriers, transport ships, 5,000 troops. Total, over 200 ships, the most powerful armada ever assembled. Against this, America had. Admiral Chester Nimitz knew the Japanese were coming. How? American codebreakers had cracked Japan's naval codes. Station HYPO in Hawaii intercepted Japanese communications. They knew the target, AF, Midway. They knew the date, June 4th. They knew the Japanese fleet composition. Nimitz set a trap. The American force: 3 aircraft carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, Yorktown, 8 cruisers, 15 destroyers, 233 carrier aircraft, plus 115 land-based aircraft on Midway. The odd: carriers, 4 Japanese versus 3 American. Aircraft, 248 Japanese versus 233 American, nearly equal. But Japanese pilots, more experienced, better trained. Japanese aircraft, superior performance. On paper, Japan had the advantage. But America had surprise. And in carrier warfare, surprise is everything. June 4th, 1942, the Japanese carriers approached Midway. At 4:30 a.m., they launched their first strike, 108 aircraft to attack Midway Atoll. But American carriers were already in position, 200 miles away. The attack. 3 waves of American aircraft attacked the Japanese carriers. Wave 1, 7:00 to 8:00 a.m. Torpedo bombers. All shot down. 35 of 41 aircraft lost. 0 hits. Wave 2, 9:20 a.m. More torpedo bombers. Massacred. 20 of 24 lost. 0 hits. Wave 3, 10:22 a.m. Dive bombers. Everything changed. The 5 minutes that changed history. 10:22 a.m. By pure luck, American dive bombers arrived just as Japanese carriers were refueling and rearming. Bombs, fuel lines, torpedoes, all exposed on deck. The dive bombers attacked. 3 carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Sōryū, hit within 5 minutes. All 3 would sink. At 10:27 a.m., the 4th carrier, Hiryū, launched a counterstrike. They damaged USS Yorktown. But at 5:00 p.m., American dive bombers found Hiryū, sank her too. The result, all 4 Japanese carriers sunk. 307 American deaths, 3,057 Japanese deaths. Japan lost 4 carriers, 248 aircraft, 4 of their best cruisers, and most critically, their veteran pilots. The battle lasted 3 days. The decisive moment, 5 minutes. It was called the Miracle at Midway. But what if America didn't need a miracle? What if they had certainty? Let's set up our scenario. June 3rd, 1942, evening, Midway Atoll. A transport aircraft lands on Midway's runway carrying something impossible. Disassembled pieces of an F-22 Raptor. Within hours, it's reassembled by engineers who don't understand it. But they don't need to understand it. They just need to fuel it and arm it. The setup. Admiral Nimitz receives a classified briefing. This aircraft can fly 1,500 mph. It can kill ships from 100 miles away. It has radar that can see the entire Japanese fleet. Nimitz doesn't ask how it got here. He asks, can it stop the Japanese carriers? Answer, if it can find them. Nimitz makes the decision. Launch at first light. Find those carriers. Sink them. The mission. Objective. Locate and destroy the 4 Japanese carriers. Weapons loadout. 2 AIM-120 AMRAAM air-to-air missiles in case of fighters. 6 AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles, ship killers. 480 rounds, 20mm ammunition. Wait, harpoons? The F-22 doesn't normally carry harpoons. In our scenario, specialized anti-ship missiles have been adapted. Future tech. Each harpoon, 500-pound warhead, range 70 miles, designed to sink ships. Let's understand what we're comparing. Japanese carriers. Akagi, flagship. Displacement, 36,500 tons. Length, 855 feet. Speed, 31 knots. Aircraft, 66 planes. Defenses, 12 anti-aircraft guns, 28 machine guns. Kaga, Hiryū, Sōryū, similar specs. Combined defensive firepower, 200-plus anti-aircraft weapons. The problem for 1942. Attackers. To sink a carrier in 1942, you needed dive bombers dropping 1,000-pound bombs from directly above, or torpedo bombers releasing torpedoes from low altitude, close range. You had to get within 2 miles through walls of anti-aircraft fire. At Midway, 35 of 41 American torpedo bombers were shot down trying. The F-22 advantage, The F-22 can launch Harpoon missiles from 70 miles away. The Japanese carriers can't see it. Their radar is primitive. Range may be 20 miles. The F-22's radar can track all 4 carriers simultaneously from 150 miles. It's not a battle. It's an execution. June 4th, 1942, 5:30 a.m. Midway Atoll. The sun rises over the Pacific. The Japanese fleet is 240 miles northwest. On Midway's runway, the F-22 Raptor sits armed and ready. The pilot, let's call him Lieutenant Commander Hayes, climbs into the cockpit. His mission briefing was simple. Find them, sink them, come home. Takeoff. 5:35 a.m. Engines spool up. The sound is alien on this 1942 battlefield. Throttle full. Afterburners ignite. Takeoff roll. 1,500 feet. Airborne. Gear up. Climb to 40,000 feet. Time to altitude, 2 minutes. Speed, 600 mph. Heading 320 degrees. Target, Japanese carrier group. The advantage, Hayes doesn't need to search. He knows exactly where they are. American code breakers provided coordinates. American reconnaissance confirmed positions. At 40,000 feet, he activates the APG-77 radar. The screen lights up. 4 large contacts, surrounded by smaller escorts. Distance, 180 miles. Time to weapons range, 15 minutes. Hayes checks his weapons. 6 Harpoon missiles armed and ready. Each missile can sink a carrier. He has 4 carriers to sink. The math works, if everything goes perfectly. 5:50 a.m. Hayes is 80 miles from the Japanese fleet. His radar shows the picture clearly. The Japanese formation. 4 carriers in a box formation, 8 miles apart. Akagi, flagship, northwest position. Kaga, northeast. Hiryū, southwest. Sōryū, southeast. 12 destroyers and cruisers forming a protective screen. 18 Zero fighters on combat air patrol at 15,000 feet. The Japanese have no idea he's coming. Their radar, if they even turn it on, has a maximum range of 20 miles. Hayes is still 80 miles out, invisible, the threat. But Hayes spots a problem, those 18 Zeros on cap. If he launches Harpoons from 70 miles, the missiles will take 8 to 10 minutes to reach the carriers. In that time, the Zeros might spot them, try to shoot them down. Unlikely. 1942 fighters can't catch Mach 85 missiles, but possible. Hayes makes a decision. Eliminate the cap first. AMRAAM launch. 5:55 a.m. Hayes selects 2 Zeros flying together. Range 60 miles. AEM 120 AMRAAM selected. Lock acquired. Fire. The missile drops from the bay. Rocket motor ignites. Mach 4. The Zero pilots never know what hit them. 2 explosions. 2 fireballs. 2 Zeros gone. The remaining 16 Zeros scatter in panic. Radios screaming. Where did that come from? Hayes launches his second AMRAAM. 1 more Zero destroyed. The cap is now broken, disorganized, looking in the wrong direction. Time to strike. 600 a.m. Hayes is 70 miles from the carriers. He selects Target 1, Akagi, the flagship. Admiral Nagumo is on that ship, the man who commanded the attack on Pearl Harbor. Hayes designates the target. AGM-84 Harpoon selected. Fire. Harpoon 1. The missile drops from the internal bay. Wings deploy. Turbojet engine starts. The Harpoon skims the ocean at 50 feet altitude. Speed, 537 mph. Radar guided. Active seeker. It doesn't need the F-22 anymore. Time to target, 8 minutes. Hayes doesn't wait. He immediately selects a second harpoon. Target, Akagi, same as the first. 2 missiles to ensure the kill. Fire. On the Akagi, 6:08 a.m. The Akagi's deck is crowded with aircraft. Bombers being fueled, torpedoes being loaded, pilots in cockpits. They're preparing to launch a second strike on Midway. A lookout spots something impossible. A small object skimming the waves, approaching at incredible speed. He shouts, "Incoming!" But there's no time. Impact. 6:08:30 a.m. The first harpoon missile slams into Akagi's starboard side. 500 pounds of high explosive detonates inside the hangar deck. The explosion ignites fuel lines. Aviation fuel sprays everywhere. Torpedoes detonate. Bombs explode. Aircraft explode. Then the second harpoon hits. 10 seconds later, port side. The Akagi is torn apart from the inside. Fires rage out of control. The flight deck buckles. Aircraft slide into the ocean. Admiral Nagumo is evacuated to a cruiser. Akagi will sink in 6 hours. First carrier down. 6:10 a.m. Hayes doesn't pause to observe the damage. He has 4 harpoons remaining, 3 carriers remaining. Target 2, Kaga, 8 miles northeast of burning Akagi. Kaga, strike. Harpoon 3, fire. Target locked, Kaga. Harpoon 4, fire. Same target. 2 missiles in flight. Time to impact, 8 minutes. Sōryū, strike. Target 3, Sōryū, southeast position. Harpoon 5, fire. Harpoon 6, fire. Hayes has now launched all 6 anti-ship missiles. 4 missiles targeting 2 carriers. 2 missiles already hit Akagi. He's empty, but the missiles are still in flight. 6:18 a.m. Kaga. The 2 harpoons hit Kaga within seconds of each other. Same result as Akagi. Massive internal explosions. Kaga's hangar deck becomes an inferno. Aircraft, fuel, bombs, torpedoes, all cooking off in a chain reaction. Kaga begins listing immediately. 6:19 a.m. Sōryū. The 2 missiles targeting Sōryū hit simultaneously. Sōryū is the smallest of the 4 carriers, less armored. The explosions rip her apart. She's sinking within minutes. The score, 3 carriers destroyed or sinking. Time elapsed, 19 minutes. 1 carrier remaining, Hiryū. But Hayes is out of anti-ship missiles. 6:20 a.m. Hiryū is the last carrier standing. Her captain, Tomeo Kaku, has seen 3 carriers destroyed by invisible weapons. He makes a decision. Launch everything now. Hiryū begins launching her full strike force. 18 dive bombers, 6 torpedo bombers, 6 Zero escorts. Target, the American carriers, 200 miles away. Hayes sees them launching on radar. He's out of harpoons, but he still has a 20mm cannon. The plan: can a 20mm cannon sink a 20,000-ton aircraft carrier? Not directly, but Hayes doesn't need to sink it. He needs to disable it. Target the flight deck. Stop them from launching more aircraft. The gun run. 6:25 a.m. Hayes descends to 10,000 feet. Speed, 500 mph. He's still 15 miles away. The Japanese anti-aircraft guns open fire. Shells burst around him. Tracer rounds fill the sky. But the F-22 is moving at 500 mph. The 1942 gunners can't track it. Hayes positions for a strafing run down the length of Hiryū's flight deck. 6:30 a.m. Hayes lines up the shot. Gun sight, locked on Hiryū's bow. Lead computed. Range, 3,000 feet. Diving, speed increasing. 600 mph. Trigger squeeze. Bird. The M61 Vulcan cannon roars, 6,000 rounds per minute, 3-second burst, 300 rounds of 20mm high explosive ammunition. The rounds tear down the length of Hiryū's flight deck. Aircraft on deck explode. Fuel tanks rupture. Pilots killed in cockpits. The flight deck, made of wood over steel, splinters and tears. Massive holes appear. The deck is now unusable. Second run. Hayes pulls up, rolls, dives again. Second strafing run. Another burst. 150 more rounds. The island superstructure is shredded. Bridge windows shattered. Officers killed. Fires spreading. Flight operations impossible. But Hiryū fights back. A Japanese torpedo bomber, one of the last to launch, spots the F-22. The pilot, Lieutenant Michio Kobayashi, is a veteran. He's desperate. He aims his aircraft at the F-22. Suicide attack. Hayes sees him coming, selects guns, short burst. The torpedo bomber disintegrates, but not before releasing its torpedo. The torpedo falls harmlessly into the ocean, but the intent was clear. These men are willing to die to stop him. Hiryū disabled. 6:40 a.m. Hiryū is a burning wreck. Flight deck destroyed. Can't launch or recover aircraft. Fires out of control. Listing to port. She'll sink by evening. Mission complete. 4 Japanese carriers destroyed or disabled. Time elapsed, 40 minutes. Hayes turns southeast, heading back to Midway. Ammunition status, 30 rounds remaining. Fuel status, enough to get home. The Battle of Midway is over. Japan lost. Let's compare what actually happened to our alternate timeline. Real history. June 4th, 1942. 4 Japanese carriers sunk over 3 days. 248 Japanese aircraft destroyed, 3,057 Japanese killed. USS Yorktown sunk, 150 American aircraft lost, 307 Americans killed. The battle lasted 3 days. The decisive moment, 5 minutes at 10:22 a.m. Alternate timeline with F-22. 4 Japanese carriers destroyed in 40 minutes. 248 Japanese aircraft destroyed with the carriers. 200+ Japanese killed. Slightly more. Faster sinkings, less escape time. USS Yorktown, undamaged. Hiryū never launched effective counterstrike. 3 American aircraft lost. Hayes shot down 3 Zeros. 0 Americans killed in the carrier battle. The difference, 307 American lives saved. USS Yorktown survives. Will fight at Guadalcanal, Santa Cruz, Philippine Sea. The battle lasts 40 minutes instead of 3 days. But the real impact isn't just saving lives, it's what happens next. Japanese perspective. In real history, losing 4 carriers at Midway was catastrophic. But Japan still had carriers, still had a navy. The war continued for 3 more years. In our timeline, it's worse. Japan lost 4 carriers to a weapon they can't comprehend. Invisible missiles, launched from beyond visual range. Unstoppable. Japanese intelligence crisis. Survivor reports. A single aircraft destroyed all 4 carriers in less than an hour. Naval headquarters. That's impossible. Survivors. We watched it happen. It flew faster than any aircraft we've seen. Launched rockets from the horizon. Admiral Yamamoto receives the reports. He understands immediately. If America has one of these aircraft, the war is already lost. Strategic decisions. In real history, after Midway, Japan fought defensively, but remained aggressive. Guadalcanal, New Guinea, fierce battles for 3 more years. In our timeline, Japan's leadership knows they face an insurmountable technological gap. By August 1942, peace feelers are extended through neutral Sweden. Terms: Japan withdraws from all conquests except Manchuria. It's not accepted. America demands unconditional surrender. But the war's trajectory has fundamentally changed. So what's the long-term impact? 1942 to 1943. With Yorktown surviving Midway, the U.S. has 4 carriers instead of 3 at Guadalcanal. The naval battles are less costly. Guadalcanal secured 2 months earlier. 1943-1944. Japanese defensive positions are weaker, fewer veterans, lower morale. They know America has a superweapon. Even if they never see it again, the fear remains. Island hopping campaign proceeds faster. 1945. Does the war end earlier? Maybe, maybe not. Japan still fights fiercely. Okinawa still happens. Kamikaze attacks still occur. But the atomic bombs in August 1945, they're less of a shock. Japan's military already believes America has impossible weapons. Surrender comes easier, perhaps a few days earlier. Lives saved, estimated. Battle of Midway, 307 Americans. Subsequent carrier battles, 400, 600 Americans. USS Yorktown surviving. Faster island campaigns, 1,000, 2,000 Americans. Slightly earlier surrender. Unknown, possibly thousands. Total conservative estimate, 2,000, 3,000 American lives saved. Not massive, but 2,000 families get their sons back. 2,000 names not on memorials. All because of 40 minutes on June 4th, 1942. But let's remember the real Battle of Midway. It wasn't won by a fictional F-22. It was won by men flying Douglas SBD Dauntless dive bombers. The real heroes. Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey led Enterprise's dive bombers. Made a critical navigation decision that found the Japanese carriers. Hit carrier Kaga. Awarded Navy Cross. Lieutenant Richard Best. Dive bomber pilot. USS Enterprise. Personally hit and sank carriers. Akagi and Hiryū. Only pilot to hit 2 carriers in one day. Awarded Navy Cross. Torpedo Squadron 8, VT-8. Teen aircraft, 15 men. All attacked the Japanese carriers. 14 aircraft shot down. 29 men killed. 1 survivor, George Gay. They scored 0 hits, but they drew Japanese fighters low. That let the dive bombers attack unopposed from high altitude. They sacrificed themselves so others could succeed. Those men didn't have super weapons. They had 1,000-pound bombs and courage. And they won anyway. So what does this thought experiment teach us? Lesson 1. Technology is a massive force multiplier. One F-22 with modern weapons did in 40 minutes what took 307 American lives in real history. That's the power of technological advantage. Lesson 2. But wars aren't won by single weapons. If the F-22 hadn't been there, America still would have won at Midway. Maybe with more casualties, maybe with more luck required. But courage, intelligence, and determination matter more than technology. Lesson 3. The real advantage America had wasn't technology. It was code breaking, intelligence, knowing where the enemy would be. That's what enabled the ambush. Technology won the fight, but intelligence created the opportunity. Could one F-22 have sunk 4 carriers at Midway? Yes, in 40 minutes, with 6 missiles and some cannon rounds. Would it have fundamentally changed the war? Saved lives, yes. Ended the war faster? Maybe. But the war was already won the moment American codebreakers cracked Japan's codes. The F-22 would have just made the inevitable happen faster. If you enjoyed this alternate history, subscribe for more. Next video. What if Hitler captured a crashed F-22? Could Nazi engineers reverse engineer it? Comment below. Who's your favorite hero from the real Battle of Midway? Wade McCluskey, Richard Best, the men of Torpedo 8. Thanks for watching. Remember, technology changes battles, but courage changes history. June 4th, 1942, the day Japan's empire began to fall. In our timeline, it fell in 40 minutes.